Gaming NBS episode 332, being recorded Monday, March 8th, 2021. Welcome to Gaming NBS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Brett. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome back. Glad you're all here. Sean, how the hell are you, man?
Doing fantastic, Brett. How are you?
Not too bad. I feel like I'm echoing. Am I echoing to you? I feel like
you are echoing on my end, but I don't know why.
Why is that?
I have an idea. Maybe I can fix that.
I have to change nothing. But anyway, while you're monkeying around, I'll tell you what, man. Let's see here. I had some fun gaming this last weekend. Buddy ran the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, the Undermountain campaign. Got back into that. That was it was a huge freaking brawl against some drow. Escaped by the skin of our teeth, as they would say. It was tough. I think we're beat down out of spells and have been beat down out of spells for quite some time. We can't seem to find a place to rest. Every time we hold up here, somebody comes and kicks on us. So it was tough. Super tough. And then on Saturday, I had my local friends here over. It's basically, we don't go to work. We don't see anybody except each other. And some of us have already been, the vaccines are hitting some of our crew because of their medical status and stuff. So, but anyway, I got to play, I don't know if I think I've mentioned this to you before. I had an ogre army back in the day for Warhammer Fantasy. Ogres. Yes, for Warhammer Fantasy. My buddy Beta, who I had sold it to, he said, well, you're back in town. You want to buy it back? I'm like, you're goddamn right I do. So I got my ogre army back. Laid that out.
Got to do 3 for saves. How's it go?
Oh, yeah.
3 saves?
3 ups for saves, so on and so
3
forth.
ups. Yeah.
We did well. It was a hell of a good battle. It was a lot of fun. So that was most of Saturday because the wife and kids were gone, so I had the whole house to hang out and do stuff with, so it was nice. Any gaming for you since we talked last?
I played in Harrigan's White Lies. Remember that song, Brett? White Lies?
I'm forgetting it on purpose.
It's an old 80s song.
Yes, I know. What is that game? I know nothing about this game.
White Lies is an espionage game. It's good people doing bad things, and I was accompanied by Mr. Wayne and Mr. Ryan, Mr. Blake Ryan.
Cool.
And we had a doctor that was that we rendezvoused with who got killed, and then we tracked down. He was going to share some secrets with us from a corporation, and then we found the corporation was doing some evil stuff, and so we infiltrated it. Yeah, it's full action, high octane. Actually, very elegant system. Actually, it's kind of OSE. I think all white box influenced. So a lot of D6 in order to resolve some things like, I want to do this. Well, just give me a D6 roll and target number 4, up or down, 1 or 2, depending on the difficulty.
Roll low, roll high. All right, cool. Very nice.
Yeah, so that was fun. Played in Hobbs' little fantasy gaming on, yesterday, which of this recording would be Sunday. Yeah.
Right out loud, that was yesterday.
Yep, that was good. And I think that was it since I last spoke to you.
Oh, I did crack out Space Hulk. I have the board game. It was a redone board game. I can't remember what version it is, but I pulled that out. AJ had been wanting to play it and set it up in the game room here at the house and played through it. And we remembered how difficult it is to be the Space Marines if you don't use the right tactics. Because I smoked him. I'm like, I'll just play Gene Stealers. It's easy. He's like, I want to play Space Marines. I want the guns. I'm like, all right, cool. It'll be fine. Crunch. He's like, oh, wow, that was fast. Like, all right, we'll try it again. So, all right, take another crack at it.
Oh, and then I played. Yeah, nobody did play. Oh, I did play Forbidden Lands. I'm sorry, guys. They're like, hey, man, what about Forbidden Lands?
You prick. The game you've been talking about, the bragging on, that game?
My memory goes back like 3 days. Anything further, it's like,
his wife reminds him every
week.
His wife has to remind him every Friday that they're still married. It's tough. It's tough.
It's crazy.
It's a calendar reminder. How'd that go? Good?
It was good. So Harrigan's character went to hunting and failed hunting, and and mishap. So his character got stuck into a trap, and the bunny hopped away. And so he yelled for the rest of the party that came to save him, her, out of the trap. And I had him tormented by the bunny. So the bunny showed up the next morning while he sat there. He happened to whip out his bow and hit the bunny. So that was
I
that.
tell you, man, the stories I get out of you is like the results of the game sound awesome, but every time you'll share something like, "Hey, this is how the game works," I keep going, "Ugh, I don't know if I want to do that."
And they ran into an ogre.
Yeah, kicked their ass at it.
Was it Purge? Krug,
Something.
the ogre. Yeah,
Right.
he was walking around and he kind of tailed him for a little bit. They didn't really notice him, and he wasn't really doing much. He had a big bag with a guy in it, and so they bargained with him a little bit. They gave him some of the rabbit for the guy, and he's like, "All right," threw him the guy, and then they interrogated the guy, and
They got lucky. The dude's worth more. He's got more meat on him than a rabbit.
he was one of the Rust brothers, which is not a very a lot of people don't like the Rust brothers. They indoctrinate you by force into their religion.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how they roll. Like, hey, do you like the Rust brother? You're like, hey, are you part of following the Rust? And
no interest. Oh, get a whack.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yep, pretty much. So they took
Nice.
care of him. They had to
Nice.
make so in coup de grace. Brett mentioned this to Brett, and he's like, hey, I don't know if I'd jam on that. But in Forbidden Lands, you had to roll the empathy.
Yeah, you have a mechanic that tells you whether or not you have agency.
Yeah. It's not empathy. It's something else. You got to roll. Yeah. And if you
A lot
fail,
of games have stuff like that. I'm picking on Sean.
Yeah.
A lot of games have stuff like that. That's fine.
so they fricasseed the guy, and that was kind of
Nice.
it. So we'll see what happens in a couple weeks with those yahoos.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Other than that, man, anything new, crazy? We've still got plenty of games going on. In
Like
in the forums.
47 games listed on
Yeah.
the spreadsheet. If you go to gamingnbs.com/games, it'll take you to a forum post that'll list kind of the details of what we're talking about. But yeah, there's, I've got one on there for Savage Worlds. I think I've got for Forget About It. And I think I have 3 or 4 people. And I need 5 to run it. I really do for that one. Because if you don't, then there's one person missing, and then the one relationship
Well,
that
the whole
ties them up.
setup isn't there, right? It's
Yeah.
it's built. It's custom built for that. Yeah.
But otherwise, I have that up on the docket. I've got Star Wars, which I probably can for this week. I got to let Mr. Salzwedel know, and those that might be interested. But I'm going to like strictly more one-shots and offering those. And because I'm going to be picking up a longer-term, I think, Delta Green game with my local group here.
Cool. Very
It'll
cool.
be virtual, but it's the guys I used to game with at Docs, the Stars Without Number gang. But
Nice.
they're decided to, hey man, we're gonna play some Delta Green. You up for it? We're gonna rotate GMs. I'm like, yes, please.
Very cool.
So
Very cool. Yeah, this coming week is Thursday is my Greyhawk game. Friday is Horror on the Orient Express, Call of Cthulhu, my buddy Lenny's game, and then Saturday is Access Mundi, my World of Darkness game. So that'll be fun.
I just picked up
3 days of back to back.
I picked up Black Sites for Delta Green recently. It's the new RPG arrival for me.
Oh yeah. I still love the fact that the guy in that cover looks mysteriously like you in the red
Somebody
light.
did you say that or somebody
No,
else?
someone
on
else
Twitter?
did, and I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it's dead right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I cannot confirm nor deny.
When that Dennis Detweiler thought this is what Sean Kelly looks like when he's going crazy. And he painted you up.
Something
All
like
right.
that.
Shall we move on? Random encounter?
Yeah, let's go to Random Encounter. Get this
Yes.
in away.
Let's move away from this other nonsense.
Random Encounter, segment of the show where we field voicemails, comments for social media and the forums. First one up is voicemail from Chris Schwarb.
Hey, Brett and Sean, it's Chris Schwarb. How you guys doing? Hey, I haven't listened to the end of the episode yet, which is the way I usually roll. Sorry about that. But I was commenting on your point about hot starts, slow burns, and I was reminded of my first time I ran Dungeon World, and that I started with the hot start. The guys were basically walking across. I said, "Hey, you guys are walking across a rope bridge, across a chasm, and all of a sudden these goblins come out from behind you and are chopping down the rope bridge. What do you do?" And then we kind of walked it back after a couple, a little bit of combat and things sort of slowed down. I said, "Okay, well now why were you on that bridge? What was going on?" But I did a kind of a hot start there. On the flip side, Apocalypse World, staying with the same system, it almost explicitly says, hey, start with a regular day in the life in this post-apocalypse of each of the characters. Have them walking around the environment, describing things, making stuff up, and then stuff starts to go sideways, and then you play from there. So I think that, both are useful, but the hot start with my Dungeon World game, that was really fun, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and the guys immediately, the whole crew immediately got into it, and they were super excited for that game. So, anyways, that's it. Take care, bye.
Thanks for the update, Chris.
Sweet. I think that's a cool. I do think some games, we talked about this in the episode, I think, or at least tried to, is that some games do lend themselves potentially better to one or the other. And so far as, like Chris is saying, Apocalypse World's saying specifically, hey, we think as the authors, this is a really good way to do this game type of deal. So, yeah, I like that. And I like the idea of starting out on a rope bridge and then not roll for initiative, but you're on a rope bridge. Way across. Oh, yeah, everything's cool. Good. Goblins show up. They start hacking on the rope bridge. Like, that's a different kind of peril. It's not like, it's just goblins got to fight these goblins. It's, do I fight the goblin? Do I get off the bridge? How do I? That's a pretty perilous encounter, man. I like that. That's a good setup. Very nice. Thank you, Chris. Sean, I'll let you read the first one.
Righty then. Jerry G writes into us, hey there, gents. It's been a hot minute since I've jumped into the fray. Love the hot starts and versus slow burn topic. Thought I'd toss something out there. At last Game Hole Con, I was slated to run a one-shot, which was published/homebrew hybrid that began with the scenario as follows. It's been a long night, but you all managed to track down the real killer who framed your crew for the murder of the Great House's courier. The battle has been hard and taxing, but so far, you've managed to keep up your health. So far, that is, roll for initiative. I handed out pre-gen character sheets, all with one level of exhaustion, and the spellcasters with half of the slots used. Well, scratch that. The blizzard that day kept the entire table from showing up.
Yeah, I remember that Game Hole Con. We had a pretty nasty snow, and it did slow a number of people down. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, good times. Thanks, weather. Hey, thanks, Wisconsin weather.
Yay! Look, love you.
Yeah. Details aside, I have also been listening to the High Rollers podcast run-through of the Curse of Strahd. This also goes to the discussion about the stakes in 5e not being high enough to provide enough challenge for the DM or to the player. The DM in that campaign rarely allowed a legit long rest for the players to recover their slots and all their goodies. I tend to believe it to be completely okay to convey at a session 0 or some such that it is entirely possible for players to end up over their heads in this campaign, regardless of the system or game you're playing, and running is always an option. I do have one quick question for you guys, as this is something I love about Eberron. Aberrant Dragon Marks. I groove on the potentially limitless opportunities for roleplay with one member of the party having a magic power store they simply cannot control. Is this something you'd care to implement in a game you're running? Loving the show. Keep them coming. Jerry,
I gotta tell you, man. So first off, that sucks. You didn't get a chance to run that game because that's a killer opening. I love it. But I do agree with your second point. I think a session 0 or however you do it, getting it through to the players and folks like, look, you could get in over your head. That's on you. I'm not going to make sure that everything is perfectly balanced at all times. If you get in over your head through your actions, yeah, you might have to run away. Running is an option. You might need to flee. You might need to go to ground. It's the thing you got to do. Now, Sean, I don't know jack about Eberron or Aberrant Dragon Marks, but I can tell you anytime I have had a party member with a magical power store they can't control, or something along those lines, it has always gone to shit on me. It is, it's never really worked out. And this is goofy, I think, for my group, my home group that I usually play with, insofar as we normally don't care much for balance. Oh, this is cool, that's cool, or whatever. But for some reason, whenever I've introduced something like that in the past, there has been an almost palpable, that's unfair, how come he's got that and I don't? type of feeling. I don't know why. It could be simply how I'm reading the table. It's also been a very, very, I want to say 10 years since I've tried to do something like that. So we've all changed a lot in 10 years. So I could probably give it another go. But when you run Aberron, have you ever done this? The Aberrant Dragon Marks thing, or?
Yeah, so for those that aren't in the loop, the Aberrant Dragon Mark is kind of it's a bit more dangerous and destructive form of dragon marks. Dragon marks are, a lot of people call them tattoos that show up on a person and manifest on the person. So the displaying of one and how it's manifests, I guess, can be related to a tattoo. Regardless, it's been a long time since I've run Eberron, like a very long time. So having somebody in the party that has an aberrant dragon mark, it wouldn't bother me. It's part of the setting. I would embrace it. Like, that's kind of the deal for Eberron. I don't have a problem with it being destructive or dangerous. That's the nature of it.
Got it.
And it appears regardless of bloodline. So typically what happens is when you have a dragon mark, you're choosing, usually during character gen, that hey, I have a dragon mark. And that dragon mark's associated with a house, and then that house is associated with doing certain things, like specializing in messaging, specializing in, right, certain things. And so it's a little different than the rest of them because it's kind of a wild one. So
it's so baked into the setting.
Yes. Right.
Then
it's kind of like saying, sense. Well,
I think my problem has been trying to bolt it into something and not baking it in at all the right levels or appropriately. That's probably where I went wrong.
So Jerry, if you're asking, like, I mean, so take Aberron and the Aberrant Dragon Mark aside, and if you were to say, well, if you had this kind of magical power, maybe it's just Brett decides that player character is kind of a wild card and when it comes to magic. And that character, the player, is like, cool, that'd be cool. I'm down with that. You know, DCC comes to mind, even though it's baked into the setting itself. You know, maybe they have a higher mishap chance of something going awry. I think as long as you have a player character that embraces it and a DM that can handle it, you know, in short, I don't have any problems with it.
Like I said, my problems were 10 plus years ago, and I think it would probably, another way to go about it, and again, I'm just off the top of my head, shooting from the hip here, Jerry, but like if everyone has them, they just don't know. I mean, so you could drop it in later, you know. Brett and Sean's character's doing this. Sean goes, blam! What the hell was that? I guess I have well, holy crap, look at that. Look what I can do. Type of thing. It's almost that X-Men latent mutant, I didn't know I could do that. You know, holy crap, I can fly. Type of superpower thing, where it's like this rando or like seemingly randomly attached thing that hits your character. And then that also gives you characters a reason to hang out together. 2, 3, 4 players, one of the reasons all the characters are together is they all have this thing.
Right.
And is that a good thing to have, or is it, and they're all very similar, they're not connected to a house, is this a threat, is it whatever, you know, who sees it as such? So then there's a target on them, be it a good target, a bad target, whatever, but now they are the focus of machinations that they may not want to be. So
if you were to another approach too, Jerry, would be if you implement this into like a regular D&D game or whatever, you could have the player as they grow get a better grasp of that, like,
oh yeah,
understand it better, and then it doesn't become as wild and crazy. So when they start out, maybe their chances of it going awry are much higher, and then as they grow to understand the power of the magics, they can keep that and wield it in a more responsible manner because they become the master of that domain. That's something that would also be a story arc, which also prevents the player character from going, it started out really cool, but every time I'm casting a spell, it's failing, and it's like, I'm not, it's always this pain in my ass now, even after 5 levels. Now you can kind of implement, well, now it's getting better, and you decrease the chances of it going to shit.
And you could also, that's where you can do, for comic book fans, you can do the Dark Phoenix piece too, where things start to go to shit on you. Wow, this is really good. Wow, now when I do it, it hurts my friends. Now when I do it, I take 3 levels of exhaustion when I do it because it's too powerful. I can't seem to control this thing. How do I figure that out? That's a story arc potentially in and of itself. A lot of cool stuff to do there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thanks for writing in, Jerry. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Let's see here. What's next? Yes. There we are. Oh Christ! I lost my thing there. Matt H. There he is. Matt H. emailed us about published in Homebrew. Good morning, Rhett and Sean. Thank you for discussing the topic of written versus homebrew adventures and taking the time to explain a few different ways to try to work character development and freedom of choice into written adventures. I meant to write a response after first listening to the episode, but hearing other BSers' feedback, especially how many felt that running written adventures was more difficult for them, and Brett saying that anyone who put down DMs for running written adventures is not being legitimate should go kick rocks. It's just what I needed to hear. I guess what it comes down to, as always, is it depends. Yeah, got a fan, Sean. Some people are going to prefer one approach and some another. As long as everyone's having a good time, they're doing it right. I think my main issue with having consumed too much media telling me the quote-unquote right way to play was homebrewing a game specifically to the characters created by the players and basing everything around them, which is very hard to do with a written adventure and made me feel like I was missing something. When I do realize there's no right way to play, I'm starting a new game and trying to implement this approach. I think my players are already freaked out with the responsibility of having to create a backstory and a goal for their PCs and might want to jump back onto the railroad before long, but we'll see how it goes. I've given them some freedom to create a world we'll be playing in, and this resulted in them starting in a tavern called Tits and Ass. Oh my God, that's so Matt. Which I quickly adorned with a donkey and a bird out front. Smart. We're certainly off the tracks already. Again, thanks for taking my topic. Wish me luck, Matt. P.S. Sean, it sounded like before I talked to Phil about Forbidden Lands, you intended on running it homebrewed, but when he mentioned he was running Raven's Purge, you might have been swayed. Now that you're up and running, what are you going to do?
So that's a good question, Matt, and I don't want to divulge too much because I probably have maybe 1 or 2 people listening to this that might get the drop, but no, I can divulge. Forbidden Lands is nice. So you could take the map of Forbidden Lands, plop it down, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with it, because even if you give the characters the map, it doesn't mean anything on it's accurate. So you can change the whole map if you wanted to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use the map for Forbidden Lands. What the difference is with Raven's Purge and the home campaign is really not a ton. Because Forbidden Lands runs on lore, sites, and artifacts, it's not a story arc. So in Raven's Purge, there is an overlying kind of thing that ties everything together. But I know people that are running Raven's Purge that they aren't aware of those dots connecting, right?
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're adventuring and you're going to a site and you're exploring that. And what do you find in the site? Well, you find this. Great. What do you do with it? Well, I don't know what it is. Okay, they put it in their pocket, right? So they go and they travel some more. Maybe they come across some NPCs, and those NPCs are looking for something, and might be the something that they found. Great. If the players don't put those two things together, it doesn't really matter. But they're still playing.
I haven't seen a withered, mummified hand. I don't know what you're talking about.
So they're still playing and they're still going.
Yes.
But you don't. It doesn't really matter unless the player characters put it all together. So there's not. Yes, there is a thing going on in the world. Mm-hmm. But it isn't a storyline, I would say, as traditional as, here, I'm going to pull Rime of the Frost Maiden off the shelf or Curse of Strahd off the shelf, and then you've got all this kind of background, and then you're kind of, the people are starting in, and those things are all going to become part of it. It's really kind of, there are some similarities, but it's not Raven's Purge isn't like a D&D module, I would say, right? There's some players, they have like an NPC list. There is something that is going on, and then there are sites. So there's additional sites that expand the Game Master sites in the Game Master's book. And then, you drop kind of the lore here and there. And so if you take the NPCs and you tell the player characters like what the NPCs are doing, and the sites divulge more, and then the player characters can put it all together, then great. But I could run Raven's Purge, and these guys would never know. Like, they would never know.
It's a very from what I'm hearing from you, it's a very sandboxy,
very much
player desire driven, right? If they don't give two shits, they don't. Which actually threw off my buddy Alpha running the Undermountain campaign. Is he's like, what you're supposed to do in this is come up, get jobs, go back. Like, we're lost, dude. We've been lost for like 10 sessions. We've decided to do something totally different. We're now the world's greatest mercenaries that live in Undermountain. That's our job. He's like, what? That's our thing. We've made up our own rules. This is what we're doing. Because, it just turning out that way.
Yeah, and I should stipulate too, right, with Matt, like, if I give them, as a game master, if they go to the next hex and then they come across a site, which a site is defined as either a village, a town, a dungeon, some kind of structure, right? Tower, whatever. Maybe a little bit more robust. I know one in the Game Master's Guide's got a lot of things going on. But if I just give them that and they come across it, whatever happens. Like,
they could choose to ignore it, engage with it.
I mean, I could run Raven's Purge and do everything kind of by what they outline, and these guys might end up giving two shits about what the actual major component is. And as the Game Master in Forbidden Lands, I don't hammer that down, right? It's not like, hey, there's Ravenloft on the hill, and there's a cursed there's Strahd roaming around and doesn't like the countryside. Yep, that's fine. We're going to explore this other stuff. Like, we don't want to deal with the vampire or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's great, but that's the deal with Forbidden Lands. So it is a different type of game, and I've told Brett that too. We've told him like, hey, this is cool, and he's like, I don't know if I'd like that. And I'm like, yep, it's completely different from some of the stuff that's out there. So,
and to be fair, I'd try it before I buy it, type of thing, just to see if I would or wouldn't like it. Now, one of the things that before we jump off of Matt's piece here, our last little bit of feedback was. He said this piece, this caught my attention. He said, I think my players are already freaked out with the responsibility of having to create a backstory and a goal for their PCs and might want to jump back onto a railroad. I think that's actually, Matt, that's really insightful on your part. I think that's smart thinking. Because if you see players, you're like, hey, I want to do this homebrew thing, make this, I want to do intensive mining your backstories, give me all this great data, and I'll build this cool storyline. It'll be great. We'll do this all together. And some players may be like, well, hang on. Can I give you one idea? I don't know. I don't want to write this. Not every group, and Sean and I have talked about this before on and off the mics, is not every group likes that stuff. And some groups want to play Curse of Strahd as written. They're like, yeah, I just want to go in there and do it. I just want to play the Scum and Villainy adventure set, and I want to make my character by the rules, do the thing, and I want to play the adventure. I don't want to do the rest of it. Much like you were just saying with Raven's piece. It's like, look, we're just gonna play Forbidden Lands. We're gonna roam around because this is fun, and they don't give a shit about a big plot or something happening. So, I think that's some of where the power of the written published adventures are, is that it sets a tone. People know what they're in for. When you're playing Dungeon Crawl Classics and it says, hey, it's Death Incarnate or the Wizard's Tribunal or whatever it is, like, this is a DCC adventure. I'm here to play Dungeon Crawl Classics. Let's adventure. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that game cannot have all of those things. You can absolutely have all of those things in that game. You can do it in almost every game I know. But a lot of people that I'm aware of that sit down to play aren't really digging into all that crazy backstory. It's more kind of as it comes up or whatever. So, now again, no right or wrong, as Matt said. I just want to call that out, that I think that's insightful on your part, Matt. That's smart to see that in your crew. And maybe you might have to, like, downshift, right? Instead of going full bore into this huge, deep homebrew game specific to characters created with backstory and everything around them, you might need to dial it back. You never know. And that's smart. That's smart that you're noticing that. And it'll be wicked smart. And the players will think this is amazing when you're like, you know what? And you shift gears on them. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. You want to go back to a little bit of railroad? Oh, you want to dive back off of it a little bit? A little scenery, and back and off and back. You can totally do that stuff, man. Good stuff.
I would say, Matt, on the background thing, don't force it and don't get crazy. Like, if you get the character that runs up the 3 pages, great. If you get a person that's struggling, just have them do a sentence. Like, it doesn't, don't, because what's going to happen is you're going to be like me. Hey, I need some cool backstory, come up with some info so I can sink my teeth into it and cater the adventure to you. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have 2, maybe out of 4 or 5 of your players come up short or not care or not do it, and you're going to get pissed off. So if you just
frustrating.
if you lower your expectations and just say, hey, even if it's like 2 or 3 sentences, like who you are, where you came from, and what you were doing before the campaign starts, and that's enough, great. There's many people that will argue don't bring one up at all, and just as play provides things and they get to 5th level, then their backstory is everything from 4th level back. Right.
And sometimes people don't know what their goals are, and rightfully so, because some folks want the goals to come up in what's going on. So my buddy Lenny in my Greyhawk game has a goal. He's got shit he wanted to do. He hit me with it. The other guys didn't. They're like, I really don't know. So we've laid a lot of track. They're on different rails off here, going there, doing this, sightseeing, engage with Mordenkainen, figuring this shit out. And now I'm going to ask them on Thursday, what are your goals, guys? We're at a certain point here. I know what Lenny's up to, and I know what some of you are thinking, but do you, apart from accomplishing the current task, what else are you as a character? Nick, what are you? Zave, Alpha, and go through the crew and have them give me some stuff. And sometimes that's very helpful, because once the players have gone through a couple sessions, a half dozen sessions, depending, they may be like, yes, I now have a goal. And sometimes you hear that goal, they're like, man, you know what we should do? We should buy an inn. Is that something you guys really want to do? You hear that, react to it. Let them know that you're listening to them. You know what? We could be lords of this countryside if we took that keep over. We just cleaned out all the orcs. Man, this would make a good base of operations. Is that something you guys want to do? Because we can work with that. You know, when people throw ideas at you of goals, and then react immediately like that's a thing. If you want to do that, I'm here to help facilitate that whole piece of your adventure. That could be fun. So anyway, Matt, good luck, man. And as I said, very insightful on your part. Good stuff.
Looking forward to an update, Matt.
Hell yeah.
Let's get into the main topic, yo.
Let's do it.
Brett.
All right. So Ray Otis hit me with this one. He said, since Sean has been unloading stuff, talk about collecting, curating, and culling your collection. What mentalities do you both have regards to stuff you keep versus stuff you toss, restricted to the physical? It's too easy to have everything in PDF. That makes the conversation muddy. Unless you really want to get into that. But yeah, I think we're going to keep it to the physical if we can. And he also said, don't give me that fake Zen shit about holding your hand to asking if it brings you joy, which actually is kind of funny and I think might be helpful in the discussion partly. He also says, hey, you know, what about regret? Things you let go that you may have regretted letting go, things you won't because you're worried about regretting, and so on. Kind of top shelf, pride shelf, what 3 linear feet of books we never ditch for whatever reason, nostalgia, all that stuff. So Sean, you and I have both over the last couple years talked on the show, bragged on the show practically, like, hey, I got rid of this. Hey, I'm moving. I got rid of this shit. I got rid of some of my stuff by sending it to Joe Swick. I got rid of other stuff by sending it to other friends of mine. I've sold some stuff. I've given shit away. And, you know, part of it, I think we have said this before. Sometimes we take a look at our collection and you say, I'm never going to play this. And I think it's easy. That's a easy step. You go, I'm never going to play this thing. And you pull it off. However, there's still a couple games in my collection that I don't think I'm ever going to play anymore. But I just can't let them go, which is, you know, some of the nostalgia piece. I've got all this vampire stuff, all this White Wolf original stuff. I'm like, man, can I let that go? Because every time I pick one up, I'm like, oh man, I have this wonderful memory flashback. So before we get into the nostalgia reasons, Sean, do you have a key? When you look at your collection, like, I'm running out of books. I'm running out of space. Sometimes, quite frankly, that hits us all. I'm very fortunate. I've got a slightly bigger house than I had before. I have more space to fill up with shit. However, I'm trying to be smarter about it and not just buy linear feet of books. Oh wow, there's a deal on old Dragon magazines. I'll take them all. Why am I doing that? So Sean, what's the main reason you get rid of something in your game? I'm talking RPG physical stuff. What's the main reason you're getting rid of it?
So my take on this topic is that it is not a gaming thing.
It's not a gaming thing. Explain yourself further. I don't
believe this is a gaming thing. I think it is because we are gamers and we like buying gaming books, and that we find that as a personal interest and passion of ours. But I think hanging on to them, it could be anything. Like, I could say I love to sew, and I could have sewing shit everywhere, right? I love to scrapbook. I've got scrapbooking stuff everywhere. So it's not. It's the hobby component, right?
I believe at one point, I don't know if it's still the case, one of our BSers can correct me if I don't remember, but bibliophilia was the only hobby that was also listed as a mental illness.
Oh, interesting.
At one point, or at least closely connected. I don't know if that's still true or not. But
so and I think I mentioned this prior on a different episode, but my reason for getting rid of stuff. So I came to a crossroads. I live in a relatively small place, I would say. Brett's been to my place. The rooms are relatively small. I mean, they're like 10 by 10, 12 by 10. So they're not huge.
There's two of you.
Yeah, there's just my wife and I and some pets. So having said that, I came to a crossroads where I could get another bookshelf that would span an entire wall, and I could load that up.
Yep.
And then I could maybe get rid of a smaller bookshelf. So more bookshelf, 2 units, buy a 4-unit one, get rid of a 2-unit one.
Yeah.
Or I could just get rid of freaking books and not get this big, huge honking bookshelf that's going to take up more space in this area, actually, where I'm sitting. And that's what I did. And so when I did that, I looked at shit that I was like, and going to what Brett was saying, there's some low-hanging fruit, right? It's, I've had this, like, I have, kooky RPG title, insert here, a book that, nobody plays. It was a, Kickstarter I got in on, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, and nobody's interested in playing this thing. Name whatever that is. I don't know, because the minute I name the title, somebody's going to be like, oh, I love that game.
Exactly.
But those are easy because you're just like picking them up. I have Villains and Vigilantes in my bookshelf. Like, that's from a friend of mine who we lost in like gambling, and I've kept it, and it's old and it's the original. And I haven't tossed it because I kind of think of it as not really mine, so I kept it.
Yep.
But other than that, like, I'm never going to play Villains and Vigilantes. I gave Brett like Star Frontiers I found in a thrift store for like $9. All the chits weren't even touched.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful copy. I like Star Frontiers. I actually run that periodically.
Sean's never going to play Star Frontiers. Like, Brett,
so when you say never going to play,
in 6 years, Brett's never come to me and said, I've always wanted to run Star Frontiers. Sean, would you be in?
Yeah.
In 6 years, all the BSers have never come to me and said, or posted and said, hey, I'm running Star Frontiers. Would you be in?
Yeah.
Boom, got to get rid of that shit.
So when you say you're never going to play it, is that because, are you looking at it saying you have no more interest in it anymore? Or you legitimately say, this doesn't even sound like fun?
I think it was such an impulse buy for that one specifically, but I think it goes to, I don't have any interest in it. It could be a variety of things. Could be I don't have interest in it. I read it. It wasn't something that I wanted to grok. Like MASH, Powered by the Apocalypse. Cool. Love the game. Love the Kickstarter. Love the concept. Get it. Read it. Not sure how I'm going to get this to the table. Like, it's literally playing MASH, the TV show, and not the show, not the TV part. Like the actual show.
That's kind of what hit me with. I've talked about this a little bit on the mics, but when I got into Invisible Sun, Black Cube, I was Kickstarter backer, spent way too much money on it. I got it. I started reading it. I tried to read it 5 different occasions. And I'm like, I have no interest in this. There's nothing about this that's really making me go, wow, fuck. I spent a lot of money on this thing. So I went and found somebody through Eric Frankhouse who's like a passionate fan. I took a bath on it, but I'm like, I don't care. I just want to get something out of this thing. And I want to give it to somebody who's really going to use it. Because with mint condition, I, barely opened up everything in it to look at it. And I'm like, here, somebody get some use out of it. And I think for me, part of getting rid of stuff comes down to sometimes space. But when I look at something and say, I'm never going to play it, I look at it and say, does this even sound like fun? Do I know anyone I could play this with? And when the no's start really racking up, I'm like, well, I could probably find someone online. I could try this. And it comes down to a laundry list of yabbits, or I could, if only. And how much energy do I want to put in this game? None. Gone. I remember going to Gen Con auctions with my buddies, and I bought an obscene amount of crap for like next to nothing. Board game stuff, things that were like, oh, that's cool. Got it done. Got it done.
$2 for that module? Okay.
Fuck yeah. I'm like, wow, I have 3 Ghost Towers of Inverness. Why do I have 3 Ghost Towers of Inverness? When have I ever run Ghost Towers of Inverness? Get rid of 2 of them. Right. So I think a lot of it comes to, and some games I looked at, I'm like, I have tried, but I did not enjoy. That was the other one. Was like, I played it. My friends and I did it. And I don't play it often enough or enough fun to justify having it around. Sometimes, it's a game. So One Little Book, Sorcerer by Ron Edwards. I had it sitting on the shelf. Long time.
I've got Spione.
I bought it from Ron at Gen Con. He signed it. I had it forever. Run it twice. No, actually, run a half dozen times. Kind of meh. I did not have enough fun that I ever went back through and said, oh yeah, I got to pull that game out. That was so much fun. Could have been the players, could have been whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. What mattered is I picked that book up as I went to pack stuff or move things around or reorganize. And I almost forgot I had that book. I don't remember ever having enough fun with this thing that I'd ever want to look back at it. It's like my White Wolf stuff, my original vampire books and Werewolf and Mage and Wraith and so on. I still like Wraith a lot. That's a game I didn't play enough. I could crack that sucker out and play it. Matter of fact, Dave Beatty and I keep threatening to do an online game together with that at some point. But I have enough, not only just nostalgia with it, from like, boy, wasn't that fun, but I had so much fun with that stuff. I can see possibilities in it, and I, believe it or not, will still reference it periodically. I'm like, ooh, I'm looking for an idea. I think it was in, yes, I need a city. So I pull up Chicago by Night. Wham! I take all the vampire names, and they're just mortals or just people I use in a Delta Green game or whatever it is. So I reskin a lot of my source books from that. So I'm like, I'm still getting value out of this. I'm still using it. This is good. I got to say, another reason I've gotten rid of stuff is because I was super pissed at the author. I was cranky when the Kickstarter was done. It finally fucking shows up, lands here, and I start reading it. And I can't get over the fact of how pissed off I am that it's multiple years late. It's poorly laid out. It's a beautiful book, but I just stopped caring. It showed up. I just don't give a fuck anymore. Gone. Had one that I hunted down the author, talked to him on Facebook, had him send me something. It was great, so on and so forth. I paid him. It took me 6 months of hounding the dude to say, hey, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I gave you $75. Could you please send the book? It's not even a $75 book. Just please. Oh, yeah, I will. I'm so sorry. 6 months of that. By the time I got it, I was so pissed. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this thing anymore. Let it sit on my shelf for a couple years and finally gave it away. I couldn't even bring myself to sell it because I thought that'd be kind of a dick move for whatever reason, but I just had to get rid of it. So have you ever had anything like that, Sean, where you're like viscerally angry, where you see the game and you get upset? I'm an emotional guy, so
yeah,
I get a little fired up sometimes.
Fred put some emotion and heart into the RPG space. I don't think I've ever gotten ticked off about a particular RPG that I've received or I bought and it didn't rise to its standards and I got ticked off about it necessarily. But this topic is very personal. Like
it's incredibly personal.
It's incredibly personal. So for me to get on a soapbox and say that I don't think it's an RPG thing, I think there's other things at play. And one of them is the nostalgia piece. There's the sentimental piece. You know, some of the guys in the chat room are like, hey, I got 3 copies of this. I'm not going to get rid of any of them. Why? Well, it's sentimentality probably.
Yeah,
you know?
I have, after Sean, I now have 3 first edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guides. I've got 3 or 4 PHBs, 2 Unearthed Arcanas. The only one I have like multiples of that I'm like, why do I have multiples of that? Is a Dungeoneer Survival Guide. Somewhere I ended up with 3 of those. And people are like, what the fuck do you have all that for? Part of it is I love this stuff, that stuff. But 2 is I have kids and they all like it. And I wanted to have enough so I could split up amongst my children.
It is amazing to me how much feelings it's all about. It's all about
my God.
Feelings. Like
when you say personal, you're not kidding. It's absolutely personal.
Feeling. Like I don't hear I need 3 because I'm going to run a group of 3 people and I don't want them to buy the books. I'm going to hand each one of them.
That's what you tell your significant other.
That's right.
As to why you have 3 of them.
That's the rationale.
That's the logic that gets laid on top of it. Oh no, I need to have 3 copies of the entire Pathfinder core rulebook.
Unless you're a collector, right? Yeah.
Now, if you're a collector, we talked to Alex Cameron about this ages back, and that's a different kettle of fish altogether, where he's looking for completeness and so on. He has a goal and a purpose and so on. And maybe we all do somewhere inside a completist or something like, hey, I want one of everything because won't it be cool? But there's something, I mean, some of it is neat to have. There is something really cool about a wow factor when your friends come over and go, holy shit, you have 3 of those? You're like, yes,
sure.
I do.
Throw the Joneses thing in there. You bet, man.
It's totally cool.
Yeah.
It's totally cool.
Keeping up with the Joneses, you know?
Yeah. Do you have your copy of the original Dark Dungeons somewhere? Somebody's like, yeah, I do. Isn't that crazy? Where the fuck do you get that?
Wow, this is so awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You own this? That's fantastic.
That's cool.
Oh, I remember this. Like, yeah.
It's hard not to think that's cool, man.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, I got this other thing over here, too.
Yeah, but it's hard, honestly, to not, it is very, very personal. I think my dog is going nuts. Got to shut that door soon. I'm like, God damn it, Jack, what are you doing? Anyway, point is that I think whenever you're going to get rid of something, one of the things that is kind of funky is that when I hear somebody getting rid of something, I don't go, oh, why? That game is so good. I don't. I maybe have done that in the past, and I've stopped doing that because of the number of reasons why somebody's doing it. Sometimes someone's selling their collection. They're selling it literally because they need the money. It's very unfortunate if it's come down to selling something that's precious to you where you're like, look, I'm in a bind. I have a huge medical bill. Whatever it is, I got to sell stuff. I had a massive collection of Gru the Wanderer comic books, one of my favorite comic books ever by Sergio Aragonis. And they're in... Marvel had them for a while and so on. It was just great. But I had to sell them because at the time, I was getting divorced and I needed the money because I was moving, selling houses, and doing crap. I had to get rid of a ton of comic books that I had. It sucked. You know, and when people would say, oh, why are you doing that? That stuff's so cool. It made me feel bad. Like I was somehow betraying some geek cred or doing something, you know, I mean, it's already been a hard decision sometimes. And some people just don't give a shit. They're not attached. I've had friends of mine like, I don't fucking care. Take it. Get it out of here. I don't need this anymore. You know, but I think it is incredibly personal. Sentimental value and nostalgia is very powerful. And for me, I think there's some stuff that I have realized I'm never going to play. I had copies of Powers and Perils that I bought at a con. I started looking at it. I'm never going to play this. Oh my God, this game looks terrible. It was neat to have. I paid nothing for it, gave it away. I had a Rollmaster and box set, Space Law, or one of the other books box sets they had. Got it for next to nothing. I'm like, I'm not that huge of a Rollmaster fan, and this is like first edition. I don't even know if it looks cool on a shelf, but then I realized, hey, my buddy Nick loves this shit because he's that guy. Nick, here you go. Happy birthday. Wow, man, that's so cool. Take it. You're going to enjoy it. And sometimes the raw enjoyment of seeing stuff on your shelf is just awesome. You know, when you look at some stuff and you have great memories and so on, that can be a very strong reason to keep it. Another reason for me to get rid of stuff, dude, and I know we don't necessarily have to talk about how we organize our PDFs, but some games, I'm like, I have the PDF of this. I have electronic copy. That's good enough. If I ever really decide that, hey, Brett decided we were going to play this game, I got rid of my copy, I still have my Blades in the Dark PDFs. I can play Blades in the Dark. You know.
I'll take it one more further, man. I don't have a problem buying the book that I got rid of if I'm going to play it.
I'm going to shut my door. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem buying a book that I actually got rid of and then decide that we're going to play. But one thing, as Brett's closing his door, is that I was starting to get into. I was doing. At one point in time, I was looking into tiny house and minimalism and stuff like that, and you
can't be a minimalist on a bibliophile. That's not going to work. Not going to work too well.
Pretty difficult. And one of the rules they have when you go to, hey, we're going to go from a 5-bedroom house to 850 square feet.
Yeah.
Trailer, house built on a trailer, is you got to get rid of all your shit. And one of the ways they do that is if you haven't touched something in a year, it has to go. And it's not a bad rule because I got a shirt that's in my closet. I haven't touched it a year. Why do I have that fucking shirt? I'm never going to wear it. I look at my closet and go, you never know when I'm going to go out and want to don that thing. Like
every year, because I'm working from home now, but when I'm in an office, there's a certain point where usually once a quarter or twice a year, I go and I clean my desk, really clean, just pick up all the papers, the stacks and shit that you've accumulated and printed out. And sometimes it's if I go and I blow the dust off it, it goes immediately in the trash because that means I've not looked at it long enough that it's covered in dust because it was in the corner in the back of the credenza in my little stupid cubicle. What the fuck do I even have this for? Gone. There's nothing here that's important. One of the things I found that I tended to have a bunch of was old character sheets and just stuff, random printed out.
You should have saw some of the folders that I got rid of. I got here's all these folders.
I still have your English paper. That's
for case in point.
Yeah.
I went through folders. I'm I ran Pathfinder. Here's all my organized play, and here's all the table tents, and here's all the organized play cards that I would give people when they showed up and weren't part of organized play. And I'm like, what in the hell? I got freaking campaign notes, all this bullshit. I'm like, this shit has got to freaking go.
Some of it's fun to have when you read through it and you're like, oh, this is handy. I could use this. Oh, this is a thing I built. I'm going to use that. And I have a purpose for it. And part of it for me is what am I really going to use it? Yes, I'm reskinning this vampire setting book. That vampire setting book is gold. I'm reskinning it on a regular basis. Hey, the first edition Delta Green book, why do I have that when I have the new Delta Green book?
That's a big one. As soon as Pathfinder 5e came out, I got rid of all my Pathfinder stuff and 4e. It wasn't even a question. I've never gone backwards. And some people are like, but I've got first edition AD&D and I've got Redbox and BX. And those are different, drastically different games.
Yeah.
And so, but as soon as we played Pathfinder to death, and I think it's run its cycle, and it is over for me. That is gone.
That's a big one. It's over for you. Look, I don't. Right. I have no interest in going back to that. So for me, the Delta Green original books, I have a couple of the source books, and they're absolutely compatible. There's not that big change. The history and some of the other stories and plots, and there's some really good data points within it that I mine. I'll go through periodically and go, what did they say about the King in Yellow? Flip, flip, flip. Ah, yes, this. This is gold. So those are becoming resource books for me. I actually went through my Call of Cthulhu stuff not long ago and went, why do I have... Until you get to Call of Cthulhu 7th, there's really not enough difference, in Brett's opinion, from 1 to 6. There's not that big a change in the rule set.
Sure.
They're, in my opinion. So I had some that I'm like, I actually have 2 of this. Why do I have 2 of this? This is stupid. Because I don't need it, right? Call of Cthulhu 5th And 7th tended to be the ones my friends and I play. We play 7th a little bit now, and 5th. Those are the ones we like. So that's what I game with. And I can't see sitting down at a convention saying, "Hey, I'm playing Call of Cthulhu," and unless I said 7th edition, everyone would just assume, "Oh, it kind of works like this." That's the way Cthulhu players are. Where the fuck was I going with this? But anyway, yeah, there's certain game systems where older versions of it, I'm like, I don't need this. I have the new thing. It's changed enough. The reason I kept the first, second, third, the multiple editions of the vampire stuff was it changed enough where, depending when I was running it, we would go through, it was core rules and occasionally like the player's guide because it had different powers or variation of the powers, and we would go through and mine that shit. You know, it was super helpful. But you're right, if I'm playing BX or AD&D, those are two different games.
Right, agreed.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah, totally different. Totally
But
different.
even like Shadowrun, like Jimmy's a big Shadowrun guy. 5th edition comes out, he wants to run Shadowrun, we grab 5th edition. They've run 4th, they've liked 4th. I think there's sometimes when the new shiny comes out, it's a curiosity on how they fixed X and fixed X and elaborated on Y or whatever. And then you've come to find out that it's not better. It may be a little bit different, but why? And there's some people like the Dead Game Society guys that, I mean, they stick with older stuff because to them, there's nothing wrong with it at all. And there's no reason to go to the next thing. Like if 4th edition's working and people love it, you could play 4th edition Shadowrun or insert whatever game, old edition forever. Like there's so much material out there now. But for whatever reason, we pick it up and it's like, ooh, we got to check this out. And it's going to be a better experience because they fixed grappling.
Really?
Maybe, I don't know, CMD,
That's the other reason why I pick certain games where I'm like, what piece of this game did I like? My friends that I enjoyed. Was that enough that we'd ever want to play it again? And sometimes the answer is no. Quite frankly, I ran Dungeon Crawl Classics for my crew, and I had a couple people went, meh, they weren't too fond of it.
Wasn't their jam.
Yeah. Wasn't really their jam. That said, no one has told me, don't you ever dare bring that fucker to the table again. Matter of fact, I brought it up this last Saturday with my team. They're like, yeah, you know what? We should that'd be good. We should do another one. That'd be fun. Something different.
There is a bit of freshness. Like there's like,
there's a, wow, that was fun. Well, yeah, that's right. This crazy fucking thing with the weird charts. Yeah, let's do it. Right. Now, I like Warhammer First Edition Fantasy Roleplay. It is a poorly organized amalgamation of rules and things. I like it. I know the book really well. I can find my way around it. My buddy Alpha's like, hey, I got the newer one. Oh my God, this is really good. And I said, I'm not buying it until you run it. And I decide if I like it or not, right? And I don't know if I don't know. That is a game where I could conceivably get rid of the old stuff, just if the new one is smarter, better, faster, cleaner, enough to really wow the crap out of me. I just don't know if it is. We'll find out when he runs it. But I think some of it for me too, when I went through my collection, is like Blades in the Dark. I'm like, I'm getting rid of this, and I'm like, I have PDFs done. I actually have all the PDFs of Invisible Sun yet because I got those as being Kickstarter. I'm like, look, I have these. I have all this stuff. If I really, really want to do it, I could do this. If I really wanted to mine the books for resource on something, I have all that. I got rid of a shit ton of GURPS stuff. I'm like, the GURPS edition that I played is the one I kept.
Yeah, I got rid of my shit. Gotta go.
I had another version of GURPS that had a dual slipcase, sign, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I tried to play this, didn't really enjoy it. I couldn't find anyone who was interested in it. This version I knew better and I liked more. Fuck it. Gone. I just started trimming it. And for a while I had like GURPS Voodoo and GURPS this, GURPS that, all these different splat books. And I'm like, I'm not even mining these anymore. I'm not looking at them for data. Suppressed Transmission and GURPS Cabal and a couple others like that I use regularly by digging into them and pulling up some craziness that Ken Hite or whomever else in there put together. But I don't, if I look at it, I'm like, I'm not even mining this for data. I have no interest in running this. I'm not going to do it. Then it's going to go. And if I have a PDF copy of it, like, all the more reason that I can get rid of this hard copy, clear up some bookshelf space, and get rid of it. So let me ask you this too, Sean. Are you a big sell them, get the money, or do you like to give them away?
So this one round that I got rid of, I think I got rid of at least 15 books through Gaming and BS forums, because I thought, well, I'm going to start with our community. Like, hey, because if I get them a discount and they want it and appreciate it, I'll start there. I hate going on eBay to sell shit. I dread it. I got to take pictures of it. I got to put it up online. I got to make sure the condition's fine, blah, blah, blah. And I got to hope that when they get it, their expectations of the product is what arrives. And, then you got to worry about a rating and all, and I'm just like, I hate shipping shit. And frankly, the really good thing about this last round, which I was severely blessed, was literally when I posted all my shit, probably within 3 days, everybody was like, I will take that. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in this. So it didn't go on and on forever where I was making 4 trips to the post office. I literally went there twice. And the only reason I went there twice was because I think one guy was like, hey, I might want to add some more stuff. So can you hold up, right?
That's a good problem to have.
And I'm like, okay. But otherwise, I went there, I got all the freaking boxes and crap and everything. I got all the labels. I printed them all off. I slapped them on there and they were all gone. And so, then there's the shipping costs and how you do this and how you want to pay it. And so it is a pain in the ass. Giving it away, the other option was to take it to Noble Knight, where I knew they were just going to sock it to me.
Well, they're reseller, man. They're reseller.
If I wanted cash, if I wanted to store credit maybe, and then the other option was to give it away or donate it to something. And I did donate. In one box I put in the Essentials kit, 5 Essentials kit, 2 starter sets. I think those were the 2 RPG related stuff. And I literally just gave them to Goodwill. And I'm like, if some kid or some person comes around and sees those and wonders what the hell it is, and they buy it and they get into D&D for it, I just hope they price it for $2 or $5 and not
cheap, not 30 or something crazy.
It's not even worth $12 on Amazon. Great, and so that's that. I do have a box that's going to go either to Brett again because I got some more shit. It's not 1E, but I missed a couple things to give you.
Oh, okay.
Or it depends on how I just want to get it off and out of my house. This box has been sitting in my freaking basement for a month, man. It's driving me fucking crazy.
Which
literally,
I'll tell you what.
And my cat comes down here and eats the cardboard, flaps off of it, and there's cardboard laying all over my floor.
We're getting that in a minute. So one of the things that I like doing, honestly, is when I want to purge something, sometimes I pick it up and it makes me think of somebody. I'm like, this is really cool.
There was somebody in the chat that said,
I said when I said the Rollmaster stuff, the first 2 box sets for that. Well, you know who loves this? My buddy Nick. If I put this on Nick's shelf, every time he walks by, he's gonna smile.
Well, I gave you a shit ton. I hope you're smiling.
Fuck yeah, dude! This is a whole shelf over there.
A lot, 50 pounds of stuff.
Yeah, it was by the AD&D by the pound. Yeah. It was awesome. I'm still going through Dragon magazines, and I love every minute of it. But
because I know Brett is gonna eat that shit up. I don't. Yeah. That's another thing about not donating. I don't know if anybody will appreciate it if they find it in a Goodwill. I don't want to put my first edition shit in there and
what's this? And it gets burned or tossed or
and it looks like crap or somebody rummages through it. But if I give it to Brett and he's going to eat it up, great.
And that's one of the cool things that selling the BSers, or even if you do go to a Noble Knight or something, or then at least gamers are buying it, and that is kind of cool. The other thing too, before I lose this, is that when you start doing this, when you start getting rid of stuff, it's kind of fun. Once you, at least for me, when I get in a groove and I'm like, I'm clean. And my kids and my wife are
what else can I give away?
I'm like, what else is he throwing out? Quit throwing out my stuff. Throw out your shit, Hey, do you need this? What's this table for? Do we need this car? You start purging shit. I will go on a clothing purge periodically. And I'm like, to your point, I don't remember last time I wore this t-shirt.
It doesn't
Gone.
fit.
This is stupid. I've never worn a large. I've been an XL guy. Why do I have a t-shirt that's a size large? This is stupid. Gone. But when you get into getting rid of the books and moving along, there is something to be said about you get in a groove. And there's something very fulfilling about completing the task. Like, hey, I said I was going to purge this out. Look at that, man. Half my stuff is gone. And the main thing at the end of this now, here's the kicker question, Sean. Have you gotten rid of anything that you're like, I wish I never got rid of that?
Nope.
No? You serious?
No.
I'm just talking RPGs here. I'm not talking about girlfriends or cats. I'm talking about,
right.
I'm talking about things that matter, RPGs here. So, no?
I haven't sat down and thought, oh my God, where's my second edition AD&D? Where is it? Oh my God, I gave it away. Well, how could I give that away?
Oh my God, I'm so stupid.
Oh my God, Chad up in Wausau has it because I found it at EverCon. Didn't even know I gave it to him. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. That's
I don't know, for some of those that don't know this story, years ago when I first met Brett, he asked me like if I was going to get, I was going to get rid of some stuff. And he's like, hey, if you're thinking about it, let me know. And then I mentioned to him my second edition AD, and I'm like, I don't really play it. He's like, I might have somebody that wants to buy it. And I got in with Chad Knight. He was on our show.
Yep.
Chad, but so fast forward like literally 3 years. Yeah. And I go to EverCon for the first time ever.
Yes.
And I play at Chad's table.
Yeah.
Because he's going to run an AD&D game, second edition. And he goes, here, gives me the book because I'm like playing a spellcaster and I need some spells. He gives me the book and I look through the book and for whatever reason, I flip the page, like the back cover or inside cover, and there's my name.
Like, motherfucker, Sean Kelly.
I'm like, oh, the hell bring this with? I'm like, the first thought I had was, I didn't bring this with me. How did Chad get my book? Literally forgot I sold the book to him 3 years earlier. And so part of me is like, you think that if I give this away and I haven't touched it in 2 years, oh my God, what if
I need it?
Brett is going to call me tomorrow and run second edition AD&D for like a 2-year campaign. I need these books.
No, I think we can get you into a second edition 2-year-long campaign. I don't think that would happen.
Like, no, I didn't. And the thing is once they're gone, that's the thing. Once they're gone, there is, I mean, me personally, there is a bit of like this relief that for whatever reason, it's not there and I'm not concerned with it. I don't open it up and go, oh, what is all this bullshit? Because that's the kind of sometimes I was getting. Open up the bookshelf. Oh, God, I'm never going to play it. But I want to get rid of it because you never know when you're going to need it. It could be worth like $1 million in 500 years, or whatever it is. Like,
that's the other one. Yeah.
I remember my old group, and so for whatever reason, I get rid of it. And I Brett, every once in a while, I will maybe think, I'll open up my cabinet and grab that book because I think that contains something.
Yeah.
And it might not be there. And then I'll go, I must have got rid of it.
Yep.
But I don't pound it. I don't regret it. It doesn't linger. Yeah. I don't like, fucking son of a bitch. There
was one thing from the move that I went, oh my God, I lost it. And I was more mad about that. I have, to your point, I have not looked back and said, boy, I had that Pendragon box set. I should have kept that.
Should have, man. Oh, it's like, I think it's on eBay for like $1,000 now, bro.
Probably. I made more on it than what I paid for it anyway. But point is I lost. I thought I had lost. I found it. This the only expansion for this weird ass Dark Cults card game. It's hard to find, and I'm the only person I know that had that expansion. I'm like, God damn, did I lose that in my move? It's this little leaflet thing. Fuck, I could have thrown it out on accident. I kicked myself for that if I think I lost it. But if I gave it away, sold it, I'm like, whatever. It really hasn't burdened me at all. I have not looked back. I was a little nervous when I got rid of Invisible Sun, and I'd be like, that was expensive. You're going to wish you hadn't done that. You just got rid of this expensive thing. You took a bath on it. Oh, you dumb fucker. I don't care. Honestly, until we were talking about it today, I completely forgot to even back the thing. I had to check before the show. I'm like, do I still have PDFs? I think I still have PDFs of that. I have PDFs of that. Because my hard drive is basically just full of gaming crap. I don't look back and go, oh boy, I should have had. I have not had that problem. Maybe I'm just lucky.
Some games, because I'd moved around, man. I went to 3 high schools.
Yes, you did.
Okay. And I joined the military twice. Okay, so I moved then, and I lived in house with a few buddies of mine twice. Like left, came back, moved back.
So many opportunities to have everything you own go missing.
So when you do that, you got to put your shit somewhere, and you're like, okay, and then it lands in the hands of your mom or dad, and they sell it or give it away, and they're making room, and you're like, oh my god, they get rid of all my D&D shit. But for literally a few years, I'm like, whatever happened to my Star Trek FASA game, my Top Secret game? Like, they must have got lost, and I wrote it off until like literally one day my dad was like, hey man, I want to clean my basement, and you got some shit over here. I'm like, okay, well, I'll come over and check it out.
I remember you telling me
I'll come over and check it out. And in this box
the Trapper Keepers,
and my fastest Star Trek game, my Top Secret game, and I took a picture of it. I'm like, oh my god.
So when you found it, did you think I'm going to keep this, or did you think I'm going to get rid of this?
So I still have the Star Trek FASA box. I still have the Starship Combat Simulator box. I still have this. I got the Top Secret game, even though I think I bought a different copy and had Burl sign that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Rasmussen. But now I have those, and I'm like, why do I have? Like, I'm not going to play these either.
Why don't I have these FASA games?
But I did think, Car Wars, I was in there. I have like these cases for Car Wars. I'm not going to buy Car Wars. Car Wars is a shitty game. Well, I'm going to play freaking that other Gaslands. That's better. Yeah. You know, they're having a Kickstarter for Car Wars too. I don't care. I mean, I'll play Gaslands. And then I don't even play Gaslands.
Well, if I was going to do it, I'd play this other game I never play.
Right.
What? Right. How many copies of a game you never play do you need? Yeah.
So some of those things I've kept, like Top Secret SI, and so they're kind of tucked away, and I'm kind of thinking like, well, I don't even need these. I got every spot. You know, there's these things that I'm like, I'm never going to play these. Why do I fucking have them? And, you know, some people say, when I look at them, I'll remember all the games that I ever played with Jeff in Star Trek. And you know what? I can't remember a single session of Star Trek we ever gamed when I was 13 when I played fastest Star Trek. Not a single session.
That's because you're older than me. Your mind's going.
I'm old and I can't remember. I can't remember 4 days ago. I asked my Forbidden Lands group.
But I tell you what, though. I think the other thing that when you go through a purge like that and you start cleaning things out and you're moving things, one of the things that happens, at least I'm seeing it, when I bought Sumbarum, whenever the fucker shows up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Forbidden Lands and those things. I think part of the process, at least so far for you and I, as we've talked through this, it's interesting. One of the kind of end results of this is I'm getting pickier with what I buy. I know what I like, and I am not afraid to try new things. I will be happy to play Forbidden Lands. Sean, when you're done with this campaign, I want in on the next one. I want to try it.
Yeah, sure.
I want to try it.
All right.
And it might be a game I end up buying because, wow, that was fun. I'll buy that. I had a good time. I'll get it. But I think I think I'm getting pickier with certain things. Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerer's Hyperborea. I have that. I love the setting. I love what Talanian did with it. I always had a good time. It just got it. That's good. That's a good one. Yeah. I have enough Dungeon Crawl Classic stuff right now. I honestly don't see a need for me to ever buy another DCC module adventure or rulebook. I'm set. And I don't play it often enough. I'm not a Jen Brinkman where I'm like, always, blown into this space where it's so much all the time and whatnot. I have enough. I could run a number of different campaigns. As often as I hit that game, I'm set. So I've changed my version of what complete means for some of these games when I have them. I love picking up Middle-earth Role-Playing, the old MERP system by Iron Crown. I still like that game. I have a lot of fun with it whenever I get a chance to bring it out. My friends play it with me. My kids play it with me. So every once in a while, I find Swick had a couple pieces. So Papa Swick sold me something, or we traded back and forth. Hey, I'll give you this, you give me that. That's great. I had some shit I didn't want that he wanted. He had shit he didn't want that I wanted. Done. But my complete in that space is pretty tight, and I think that that helps curb the desire to fill the shelves.
I mean, my goal is to get a lot of shit that's on my shelf to the table, even if it is a single one shot. Like Feng Shui, I'm dying to run that thing. I have no absolute understanding of how it works at all, but I want to get it to the table because it sounds like a blast, and I know I can get BSers to play it in a one shot. They'll be like, hell yeah, man, let's freaking fire that sucker up. So there is a
play
genuine
Big Trouble
drive.
Little China at the table. Fuck yeah, play
Yeah.
Big Trouble Little China.
There is a genuine drive for me to get, okay, so every book that I have in here, I want to, like Knights Black Agents, I got all that shit, and I haven't played a dime of it yet, and I'm gotta get it to the table. Alien, what's the other one? Delta Green, I've got off, check that off. I gotta get rid of some Savage Worlds first edition stuff. I got some deluxe edition rules, they gotta go, because I'm gonna run Suede. I don't need the old shit. So there's just some of these things where it's like, I gotta get to the table. Let's see, Knights Black Agents 1. Feng Shui's been bothering me. I have some Cyberpunk. I got to get off the table, off the shelf. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to at least run one shot or play in some of those games. So I
if nothing else,
so I don't look at it and go, yep, it's been sitting there for 5 years and I've never touched it and never going to play it. So what the hell?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. If nothing else, you can say I played it, hated it, it's gone. Played it, loved it, it stays,
Yeah.
I get you.
Absolutely.
All right, man. I think we beat the hell out of this one.
We did, man. Pound it. Shit.
All right, folks. Let's move on. Let's go die roll. Let's do that.
Die roll. 2 to 40 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery we want to bring to you. So we will start out with the theme of the show, which is stuff and RPG stuff. So if you're contemplating getting rid of stuff or maybe even swapping stuff, like maybe you don't get rid of the stuff that you don't like and get the stuff that you do, go to the forums, gamingandbs.com/forums. We have a buy, sell, swap. So give it to a BSer swap it out with a BSer or sell it to a BSer that's going to get it to the table or appreciate it. There's one option, and it's community,
Yeah, do it. It's a good place to go.
First one, Snazzy Maps. Thanks to the GM, some call Jason, on the forums. So Snazzy Maps is a place that you want to check out. It's got some snazzy, like the name, Snazzy Maps. Second one, Coyote and Crew, a Kickstarter that has gone absolutely, utterly gangbusters. It's been posted on our forums as well. Matt Mercer's backing it. That is at a $10,000 level, and there you got 300K.
Oh, this is it's a science fiction and fantasy tabletop RPG set in the near future where the Americas, were never colonized and is created by a team of natives.
Yes.
Cool.
Ends April 1st as of this recording, so go ahead and check it out. I have to think you can get it afterwards, but
the fact that a game that has Coyote in it, the Trickster, ends on April Fool's Day is fucking brilliant on their part. I don't know how many. I think that's a wonderful little piece. If they didn't mean that, I'm gonna believe they did because that's wonderful.
Yeah. So check that out. Next one, Wakening Lair: The Dark Forest Kickstarter. Thanks to Akadoken who posted that one. I don't know for whatever reason why I didn't put when it ends. I think it's a little sooner than the other one.
I'm checking. Hold tight. This one, 16 days to go as of today. As of March 8th, 2021, we have 16 days to go.
Yeah.
They're close. They're not over the edge. They're at about 3,500. They need 5K.
Yeah. I've been told the Coyote and Crew is over 400K now. So
holy shit.
Huge demand. That's nice. Good to see that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Otherwise, I didn't have anything else for die roll.
Me either, man.
What are we talking about next? Brett he's got the next 7 shows mapped out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm working on it, trying to hold up my end for a change. See, Sean has agreed to help me get an Streets of Avalon website set up. So I'm like, the least I could do is get my ass in gear and get the next 7-8 shows lined out. See if I can
we posted this one in advance. VC's like 404 error. I'm like, that's because we haven't recorded it yet, man. Somebody requested we put them up in advance so people could comment them, and then we could talk about it on the show during the episode we actually record. That's why I put it up there.
So anyway, we're going to talk about what game changed how you play. Listener, I believe it was Blake Ryan, asked us that question. And I thought in this I'm trying to theme some of this stuff up because I think some of these pieces fall on top of. So from this question around what we keep, what we get rid of, just thoughts around it, we're going to talk about games that changed how we play. We're going to talk about a couple of games that I think are pretty influential for Sean and I, and then we'll get into some other stuff. So, but we're kind of thinking of theming it up a little bit around here. See how it goes.
Interesting. That's a tough one for me to think about.
Yeah.
Because I don't change. I run every game. I'm like
it's the
Brett.
same, Sean.
I run every game the same.
Dick.
No, I'm just kidding. Brett doesn't do that.
All right. Kind of do. I kind of do.
So thanks everybody for joining us this evening. I really appreciate it. Love seeing everybody in the chat. And if you would like to see a live recording of Gaming and BS, check us out every Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv. Otherwise, if you see this on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. Otherwise, you can catch this audio version in your podcatcher of choice. Otherwise, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good gaming all.
This episode of Gaming and BS, produced with help from the following BSers: Brian Kurtz, Corey Welch, Dollar Adventure Frameworks, Aaron Coleman, Adam Grotjohn, Andy Hall, Andy Olson, Angus AWOL Trooper, Brian Rumble, Chad Glayman, Chris Shore, Chris Steele, Christopher Lang, Cole Kago, Corey Gonzalez, Craig Huber, Craig Shipment, C.W. Mellencamp, Dan LaValle, Daniel Garrett, David F. Baylog, Ed Nyes, Eric Avia, Eric Salzweedle, Eric Frankhouse, Eric Tavola, George Sedgwick, Ghost GM, Harrigan, Henry Newcomb, Howard Bishop, Host Carl, Isaiah Aries Christian, Jared Rasher, Jason Hobbs, Jay Plata, Jeff Go, Jeff Seifert, Jim Fitzpatrick, Jim Ingram, Joe Swick, John Kayward, Josh Wallace, Kevin Keneally, Laramie Wall, Larry Hout, Larry Hollis, Mark Richmond, Mark Tasaka, Melissa Bashinsky, Michael O'Holland, Mike Coleman, Mike Hess Jr., Miniature Master, Mirko Froelich, Niall Diamond, Old Scoozer Roleplaying, Old School DM, Orcus Dorcas, Perry Besor, Phil McClory, Pure Mongrel, Quigley Malcolm, Ray Otis, Rich Wishan, Robert Nemeth, Roger Braslett, Roger French, Ron Bishop, Rory Weston, Sky, Stefan Dragonspawn, Tendrils, The Duke in Purple, Todd Sharp, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Wayne Peacock, Aaron Relia, and Curtis Takahashi. Hey, if you're looking to try new games or meet new people, head over to gamingandbs.com/games. It'll take you to a forum post where you can find a spreadsheet and some details about how to sign up for games. As of this recording, we have over 45 games being offered on our online spreadsheet and forums. So try something new today. Meet some new people. Thanks, BSers!
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.